There's a story they don't tell you in most of these videos. It's not about the person who got broken down slowly over years, who lost themselves, piece by piece, until they barely recognized their own reflection. That story is real, and it matters, and it deserves every conversation it gets. But there's another story, a quieter one, about what happens when a narcissist picks their target, runs their whole playbook, and then looks up one day to find that nothing worked, that the person is still standing, still themselves, maybe even a little amused. This video is about that person, and there's a decent chance that person is you, and you don't even fully realize it yet. So first, let me tell you how a narcissist actually chooses someone, because it's not random and it's not about weakness the way most people assume. Narcissists are genuinely gifted at reading people. It's one of the few real skills they have. Within minutes of meeting someone, they're scanning for specific things. How much do you need to be liked? How uncomfortable does conflict make you? Do you fix things? Do you rush to fill silence? Do you over-explain? Do you take up space easily, or do you kind of shrink around people who seem more confident? They're looking for someone responsive, someone whose emotions are close to the surface, someone who will feel things deeply and therefore react, and reacting keeps the game running. And here's the part people get wrong. They're not specifically looking for weak people. They're looking for feeling people. Empaths, fixers, the ones who stayed too long at every job because they felt responsible. The ones who always answer the phone. The ones who genuinely believe that if they just love someone well enough, hard enough, patiently enough, the person will eventually show up differently. That's who they want. But sometimes they miscalculate. Sometimes they sit across from someone at dinner, or in a meeting, or in a family gathering, and everything on the surface looks like what they're searching for. Warm, emotionally open, the kind of person who actually listens when you talk. What they don't clock right away is the thing underneath that warmth, the spine. Not aggression, not coldness, just this quiet, load-bearing sense of self that doesn't move when pressure is applied. The kind of person who is genuinely kind, but has somehow, through whatever combination of experience and self-work, and maybe just stubbornness, stopped needing external approval to feel okay about themselves. That person looks like a perfect target from the outside, and they are the worst possible choice the narcissist could make. Here's how you know the game has started. They come in strong, almost overwhelmingly so. The attention, the interest, the way they make you feel like the most interesting person in any room. Psychologists call this love bombing, and the name is almost too gentle for what it actually is. It's not affection, it's investment. They're buying stock in you before the market opens. And a person who needs that validation? It works. It lands exactly where they aimed it. But the wrong person receives it differently. They enjoy it, maybe. They're not made of stone. But somewhere in the back of their mind, there's this quiet little voice that says, nobody turns it on this fast without wanting something. They don't say that out loud. They just notice it. File it. Keep watching. That watchfulness is the first thing that confuses the narcissist. Because usually by this point, the target is already hooked, already rearranging their schedule and their priorities and their self-perception around this new person who makes them feel so incredibly seen. The wrong person is still just themselves. So the narcissist adjusts, tries a different angle. Maybe they go for the slow criticism, the little comments that are technically compliments but leave you feeling vaguely smaller than you did before. You're so pretty when you make an effort. The kind of thing that requires you to argue against it to defend yourself, which makes you look insecure, or accept it, which confirms it. A person who needs their approval crumbles under this, starts trying harder, starts monitoring themselves through the narcissist's eyes. The wrong person hears it and thinks, That was a weird thing to say, and then moves on completely. Not as a power move, not because they're playing it cool, because it genuinely didn't stick. Because their self-image doesn't live in other people's opinions of them, and so the comment had nowhere to land.
This is where it gets genuinely interesting. When a narcissist realizes their usual tools aren't working, they don't immediately quit. What they do is escalate. And the escalation tends to reveal them in ways that the original charming version never would have. The mask starts slipping not in big dramatic moments, but in small, annoyed ones. A flash of irritation when you don't react the way they expected. A comment that comes out sharper than they meant it to. A weird, disproportionate response to something completely ordinary. And the wrong person clocks all of it, files it, starts connecting dots. Because here's the thing about someone with a stable sense of self. They trust their own perception. They don't gaslight themselves. When something feels off, they don't immediately assume they must be imagining it, or being too sensitive, or misreading the situation. They think, that was off. And a narcissist cannot survive that level of clear-eyed attention. Their whole operation depends on controlling how you see yourself. If you keep seeing yourself accurately, they have no leverage. None. There's a term in predator behavior research, and I know that sounds extreme, but stay with me, called prey recognition. The idea that a predator learns, sometimes very quickly, when they've misjudged their target, when the energy cost of the pursuit is going to outweigh the return. Narcissists operate the same way, even if it's not conscious. They feel the resistance. They feel the extra effort it's taking. The wrong person costs them more than they get back, and something in their system eventually registers that. What happens next is one of two things. They leave. Suddenly, often without explanation, they just redirect their attention elsewhere, and the wrong person is left slightly confused, maybe a little relieved, maybe wondering what just happened, but fundamentally okay. Or they don't leave. They double down. They become obsessed in this low-grade, relentless way with cracking something that won't crack. Because their ego cannot process the alternative, which is that they simply chose someone they couldn't move. That second path is when things get loud. The smear campaign kicks in, even though the relationship barely started. Suddenly, this person has opinions about you, strong ones, to people you share in common. Suddenly, you're the villain in a story you weren't even aware was being written. Because if they can't control you, they need to control how you're perceived. It's the same instinct, just aimed differently. And the wrong person watches this happen and feels something a little unexpected. Not rage, not hurt, mostly just clarity. Because the smear campaign is basically a narcissist handing you a signed confession. It's them showing everyone exactly how they respond when someone won't perform for them. And the people worth keeping in your life, the ones paying attention, they see it. So here's what I actually want to leave you with. If you've been through something like this and come out the other side still knowing who you are, that didn't happen by accident. It means somewhere along the way, through whatever you've lived through before this, you built something in yourself that held. That's not a small thing. That's actually everything. And if you're in the middle of it right now, confused about why someone who seemed so interested in you suddenly feels like a stranger running a campaign against you, that confusion might actually be the sign. You might be the wrong target and not know it yet. The disorientation is them recalibrating. The noise is them covering a loss they won't admit to. You don't have to do anything with that information, except hold on to yourself. That's always been the whole answer. Just hold on to yourself. Tell me in the comments, was there a moment where you realized the person pursuing you wasn't actually interested in you? That they were interested in a version of you they thought they could create? I want to hear that moment, the specific one, because someone watching this right now is still inside it and needs to hear that it has a far side. See you in the next one.